Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Texas Devil Running Talk Show. This is episode 12. And guys, we have a Patreon now. So if y'all want to donate like $3 a month just to help the show out a little bit, it's all on the link below. It's on Patreon, Texas Devil Running. You guys can go there for that. And we also have a sponsorship, Creedon Legal. So basically, they help me get my LLC and my trademark. So if you guys need to get an LLC or trademark for your business or anything in the business legal realm, Creedon is the company that can help you. So make sure you guys go check them out. All that stuff's going to be in the description below. But today we have a super special guest on, Sean the Run Bum Blanton. Do you still go by Sean the Run Bum Blanton? Where did Run Bum come from?
Yeah, definitely. I do. Totally. Wear that name proudly. Everybody says they got a trail name or something. Mine
Yeah.
was kind of predates all that. It actually was the start of my company. So I put on trail running races and at least before COVID, we were one of the larger, if not the largest trail running race company. I hate that word, by the way. Me and one lady that works for me,
Yeah.
who's awesome, by the way, and east of the Mississippi. And one day I used to referee soccer and sports full time, living basically in my parents' basement, being a bum, hence the bum.
Yeah.
And this dude, started running all these like long distances. I was training and fighting Muay Thai, Thai kickboxing, and somehow got into running. And it got me out of like this weird funk depression kind of in my life in my early 20s. I'm 34, older than Jesus, as we say. But yeah, it got me out of this funk. And, I was probably 22 at the time, and I was playing soccer, and people were like, oh yeah, that's that guy that runs real far and shit like that. And this dude walked up to me. I not only did I referee soccer, but I played since I was 4, right? And so this guy walks up to me, and goes, bro, you're the run bum. And I was like, man, what the fuck are you smoking? Like, that's crazy. Like, what are you even talking about? Like, get away from me with that nonsense. Right? He goes, no, dude, you are run bum. And I'm like, okay. He goes, we need to have a business meeting. And I was like, man, this guy's high as hell. And so we ended up having a business meeting, which ended up us going to a bar and him buying me a bunch of drinks, which I was very wary of. An older man telling me when to have a business meeting and buying me drinks.
Yeah.
Turned out the guy is now like one of my good friends. We started Run Bum, which I've now bought him out years ago. And I randomly started races. And the whole thing was kind of like being a skier bum, but you run. And that kind of, the reason he even called me that was like I would go on these, blow all my money on traveling and running while I was traveling. And I would kind of, like, this is like the early days of Facebook kind of stuff. And I would post I'd find like a local running group, and which is why I started the East Coast Trail and Ultra Runners Facebook group as well. Is I wanted to connect people around the country to be able to, hey, where do I go run? Anybody have a place for me to stay? Yada, yada. But I used to post on these like local pages, like examples, like Valley Isle Road Runners in Maui in Hawaii. I was like, hey man, this is 8-9 years ago. I was like, hey guys, I'm gonna be out there. Does anyone have a place that I could crash, like a sofa, a floor? Like, will you take me trail running? Like, show me some spots, whatever. Within 30 minutes, a guy who is now one of my best friends, Matt Fober, was like, yo, bro, I'll pick you up from the airport. We'll go for a run. You can crash on my couch, blah, blah, blah. Like, my wife and kid are cool with it. Hell yeah, dude. Like, I read your blog or whatever. Because back in the day, I had a blog when that was a thing, right? When people read those.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how that started. And then everything just kind of progressed from there, and then led to like randomly deciding to put on races. So,
Huh. Man, that's really cool. Yeah. I've heard about trail names. I know, especially like if you're going on like one of the big like Appalachian Trail or something like that, you get a trail name. A guy back in the day when I was like 14, there's this guy that called me Rooster, and it was a camping name. So who knows? That could be my trail name. I have no idea. I didn't know that was a thing until just recently though. So man, that's really cool though. So like you started Run Bum Tours, so like what was your first race? Like what was going into putting on a race? Like why did you put on a race and what was it?
yeah, 100%. So actually, it was Georgia Death Race, and
Uh,
this will be year 9 of it this year, which is awesome. God, dude, what a freaking race. Like, over the years, that has just become like such a
Yeah.
giant
Dude,
thing,
that's a
So,
well-known race. Like it's like when people talk about like Badwater and stuff, like they also talk about Georgia Death Race or Moab 240. Like the guy that ran Moab 240 that was on my show the other day, he he said that he like the year before he tried to do the Georgia Death Race and he couldn't finish it or something like that. Like Georgia Death Race is that's a tough race. I've heard about it, man. That's a big race
it's
too.
definitely tough, and over the years it's gotten harder. Like the courses changed slightly, and it's been I guess when I started race directing, I was kind of early mid 20s, and there weren't a lot of races, man, and especially on the East Coast. So I was having to travel for a lot of races, and yes, there were so many races here, and I ran pretty much all of them.
Yeah.
There weren't as many as the East Coast is kind of 10, 15 years behind of everything else, and not necessarily in a bad way, just in a progression way of the sport or whatever. The money's not over there, so over here, so it's just kind of it's kind of slow to get new events and everything like that. And it was when I started, it was really cult like, it was still very underground, even though on the West Coast it had like kind of taken off with Western states, all this shit.
Yeah.
You had a lot of these people that I know that still run here in Georgia, like Guts Ultra and Trail Running Society, awesome group of people, right? They were kind of like the only people, maybe one or two other people were putting on races in my home state of Georgia, where I still reside here in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
But I decided to put on a race because frankly, I got fucking tired of going out to California, to Utah, to Montana,
Yeah.
shout out Montucky. But I got tired of going to these places and being like, you guys don't have real mountains over there. I'm just like, bullshit. I'm telling you, I've run all over the world, from Hawaii, all over Canada, all over the Alps in Europe, Central America, Caribbean, Pacific, whatever. I'm here to tell you that North Georgia mountains, and especially Western North Carolina, dude, that ain't no joke. Out west, the trails are newer and they're built more sustainably. So there's like switchbacks and stuff. A lot of trails we have here, there just are not switchbacks. And so the gradient of everything is pretty extreme. And the Georgia Death Race is the epitome of that. Like I'm pretty sure I can count how many switchbacks are on that entire race, like on one hand. Is it the most scenic thing in the world? Yeah, it's a beautiful course. Are there any just wide open views? Like, you don't really get above the tree line there. My other races are for that. So this race, I tell people every race that I put on is a random and odd, exaggerated extension of a part of the human psyche or my personality, right? The Georgia Death Race is all about just evil, bad, just retaliation, just evil, nasty shit, right? Yeah. So the whole race, first of all, you have to carry a 1 pound hardened steel railroad spike the whole way, and people are like, why the fuck would you do that? And it's like, I don't know, because I said so.
Yeah.
But you carry the whole point of it is you carry your burden the whole race, and I give it to you right at the beginning of the race. I shake your hand, and it's kind of like the mafia, like the kiss of death, like, good luck, now you're going to die kind of thing. And we heckle people the whole time. It's like, hey, you're going to die. And it's funny because people who don't understand the race or haven't been around it, who aren't in the region, are kind of like, man, why is this guy telling me I'm going to die? And, telling me all this hard. And it's like, it's just part of the experience. And at the very end of the race, you get to throw that nail into a coffin that we have. And it's like the final nail in the coffin, and you get to get an engraved spike that we hand you. So it's pretty freaking cool.
Yeah. So, quick question. This just like popped up on my head. Who's the youngest, or what age is the youngest person that's ran the Georgia Death Race?
To be honest, I'm a horrible race director in that sense, is I never look at who's signed up or age or anything. People always go, hey, who's running this year? And I'm like, man, I work 100, 120 hours a week. The last thing on my mind is who's running. So and that's me being frank with you, is I don't know. I would assume probably early 20s. We
Mm.
pretty much have you got to be 18 and up to do it.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, like I feel lucky to have you on the show, and that's why I was kind of waiting for, because it doesn't look like you have any races around this time. And dude, you're such a hard worker. Like I see your Instagram, and you're either cutting trees down on trails, or you're running some Florida FKT, or you're doing a race. Like you're always doing something, but it seems like you love it. I don't know. Like
Yeah.
you do love it? Yeah, dude. That's like the biggest thing. I believe in doing like what you love, and like for me, it's running, and for you, it's obviously running too. And you obviously want to be a part of it, or you are a big part of the running community. So yeah, dude, you're like always working your butt off. So whenever things, when you get like tired, do you ever get like burnout, or like what kind of keeps you going?
So it's really weird. So I've been the last 4 or 5 years, I've come to this really weird juncture in my life. In the sense of and again, I don't want to like sound all whatever sad or mopey or try to dissuade anybody from doing anything. It's like, dude, 100% follow your passions. And if you want to find a way to make a living from it, I took what I loved and I turned it into a job.
Mm.
And now it's a 100 to 120 hour a week job. And I've been doing nothing but battling injuries because, the fun part is going to do trail work, is traveling around, getting on the trails, marking the trails, talking to people, being at the events. But in all fairness, that's only about 5% of what I do. The rest, the other 95% of it is driving, talking on the phone, getting on, and being on the computer. And that's what I absolutely hate. So thankfully, I just hired somebody full time to help out in part, who's my co-race director. But yeah, it definitely gets hard. And for me, that juncture that I was at in my life is that, okay, the reason I am personally injured and not able to go out and run 40, 50, 60 miles a week is because I'm always sitting, because I'm always having to do stuff. And there's an insurmountable amount of work that goes around putting on 12 events a year. From marketing them to getting permits, to going and helping out with stuff to, I design all our own logos. Now, I don't do them personally, but like I come up with the idea. I spend hours upon hours on stuff like this. I go back and forth with our graphic designer. I mean, I order the shirts, like I tweak our race courses a ton because I'm like, oh, I didn't really like that this year or whatever. And with COVID, man, it's made it crazy. Like I only had to cancel, I would say, really, I guess the word is postpone. I only had to postpone one race to the following year for 2020, and that was the U100, which you talked about, the Moab 240. The most scenic part of the entire Moab 240 is the La Salle Mountains, and the La Salle's is the second highest mountain range in Utah. And I put on a 100-mile and a 50-mile. They're both point to point within that mountain range. And I spend most of my summer up there. But yeah, so I try to live vicariously now through the people doing stuff, running my races, and, being at the finish line and high-fiving and hugging everybody. That's when I get to see and interacting with people on social media, because I do all my own social media, period. Like it's me you're talking to, and you can tell by the, the bad grammar, the misspelling, and the yo motherfucker, like it's me. And I'm the same way in person, on the phone, on Zoom, on a podcast, on the internet, for better or worse. So I love this stuff. And I really, my whole goal with my company and my business, what I do, is to get more people into trail and ultra running, period. And one of the reasons I want to do that is because out over here in the Southeast, at least, and Texas might be slightly different, is there may not be as much trail work, or maybe the trail work is different. But we get a lot of, from Florida, Virginia, we get a lot of growth from all the plant life and stuff like that. And it grows into the trails, and you have to constantly be cutting it back once, twice a year. If it's in Florida, it's insane.
I
Things
see
grow tall.
you. It seems like I see you on the Florida Trail like all the time doing something. Like you did like an FKT, I think, or something there, and then you also cleared out like a crazy amount of miles of trail there too. It seems like Florida, you've just been like hammering and doing a lot of work there.
For sure, man. It's actually interesting living in Atlanta. The closest part of the Florida Trail, which is for people who don't know, the Florida Trail is epic. When people talk about like epic long distance trails, you hear the Appalachian Trail, you hear the Pacific Crest Trail, you hear the Continental Divide Trail, you hear the Arizona Trail. One thing that people need to put on their radar is the Florida Trail. This is not a spring or summer or fall trail. This is a winter trail from January, basically maybe mid-December until like mid-March, early April. This is the spot to be. I can tell you right now, and people are thinking I'm crazy, there are two places in the whole world that I will take trail running above literally anywhere else. And they're both in America. It is central Pennsylvania and central Florida. And the Florida Trail is incredible. I mean, there's hardly anyone ever on it. You go through every ecosystem biome in Florida, 100 times over. The whole Florida Trail that I did the FKT on, which is the only known, supported time on, which FKT websites still have not given me credit for. I don't know what that political shit's about. But I did 50 miles a day this last February for 22 days. And you go, oh, Florida, it's easy, it's flat. Dude, around every corner is adventure. The amount of bald eagles that I saw, like the highest concentration of nesting bald eagles in America, Central Florida. Like people have no idea. I mean, it's like just seeing all these rare birds. I mean, tens of thousands of birds. I got to the point where I'm like, oh yeah, another bald eagle. Like, you're kind of like unimpressed, which is, I mean, insane to even think that, cause like living in Atlanta, I don't see bald eagles, if we see a hawk, it's like, oh my God, what does it mean? So that trail is amazing. And there's just from high prairies, dry prairies to wet prairies to savannas to cypress swamp. Hell, the first 30 miles, 20 of it, you're walking in shin deep to knee deep water in a swamp.
Yeah, I was about to ask you about that because I heard from somebody that you're literally walking in water for like several miles of like a section of it.
Hell yeah. And there's like, even though colder times of the year, you don't really have to worry about it, but you do always, it's always in the back of your mind. It's like venomous snakes, alligators, the Florida panther, cougars, mountain lions, all the same thing. They're rehabilitating those in South Florida along the trail. Bears, there's like it's like one of the highest concentration of bears anywhere on the East Coast is actually in Florida.
Florida? Wait, you said Florida has bears?
Oh yeah, Ocala National Forest. Yeah, tons of bears.
What? I did not know that. That's insane.
Yeah, they actually made it. I don't know how long ago, but they made it illegal to hunt them to let the population get back. Now it's like fucking skyrocketed. They're like,
Dude.
Dogs. They're freaking everywhere.
And you were just running through there?
Oh yeah, man. Like, and especially like during the middle of the night, in a lot of these sections, like I would go, like I'm writing a book on this whole thing, by the way.
Okay.
Which, I'm not trying to like, hey man, buy my book and I want to get rich. It's just like the whole thing I did every day. I was on social media constantly while I was on the trail, which cost me a lot of time and energy, but I wanted to share the experience with people and just be like, dude, I'm literally no one. I'm just some dude that occasionally runs. Like if I can come out here and do 50 miles a day for 22 days, fuck, you can do anything. And it was hands down the hardest experience of my life. And I'd be walking around, 3, 4 in the morning when I would start, and you'd hear shit crashing through the woods. And you're like, sounds like a bear, big enough to be a bear, could be a deer, fuck, I don't know, and it's just like, can't see whatever it was, could be a skunk ape.
I can't wait to read this book, man. I feel like it's going to be so funny, but like so like amazing and just intricate and like all the details of like I could just imagine you doing that. Like that's such an adventure, especially in. I didn't know there were bears in Florida. That's like crazy to me. But like I feel like how you're gonna lay it out is gonna be funny, but like almost cinematic, if you know what I mean. Like it's gonna
Oh,
be in a cinematic way for the book.
I agree, dude. Here, I'll even read you. So this is how funny it is. While I was on the trail, like I would use like speech to text and do some like quotes and just, I'm telling you, like I slowly went insane. If I didn't have, and the problem was I would have gone way crazier. I don't know if that's a problem if I hadn't had a smartphone with me the whole time. But the whole time I'm doing this, I'm literally having to take phone calls for work. And so like,
Wow.
yeah, I'm having to do emails while I'm walking. Yeah, I mean, it was nuts. But here, so I'll read you what I got so far. And again, like I got to have somebody come through and kind of ghostwrite this because I'm what you would call illiterate.
Mhm.
So okay, it says the Florida National Scenic Trail is 1,108 miles, point to point, spanning the length of the entire state of Florida, from the middle of the Everglades down south in knee-deep water with alligators and water moccasins to miles of undeveloped white sand beaches of Gulf Islands National Park in Pensacola. This trail passes through every environment in Florida 100 times over. This is the real Florida few know about and most are afraid to go to. Hundreds of thousands of birds, gators, snakes, bears, and of course the elusive Florida panther call this area home. The one thing this trail lacks almost completely, humans. In the 1,108 miles outside of a trailhead, any road any road, I saw less than 50 people. That's a true story. Sometimes I went 3 days without seeing anyone but my crew chief, Joey. This is my true story, minute by minute, mile by mile, of how I hiked the entire trail. How I'm not a sponsored athlete or even an elite athlete. How I'm a jackass, a bit of an idiot, and one determined motherfucker. How we did this shit as ragtag, as close your eyes and Jesus take the wheel as possible. Neither of us got arrested. How neither of us got arrested, seriously injured, or really lost is likely a reason I should go to church tomorrow.
Mm.
Sit back, relax, and read the progression of me literally running myself insane. And this is a quote. This is the last thing I'll read. And this was something that kind of played over and over in my head like a broken record towards the end of the trail as I'm pretty sure I really went legally insane. But this is a quote that I had that I wrote in there, and it's true. And as you read this book, you'll understand like how serious this is. But basically, and this is the exact quote, I went from God, this is going to be crazy, to God, this is beautiful, to God, this hurts, to God, help me, to God, are you listening? To God, why are you spiting me? To there is no God, to I am my own God. So I am now legally insane. That was literally
Man.
like thought process. And there's nothing, I'm not saying anything about religion, or I don't actually think I'm God or a God, but I mean, it was just
Yeah, you were
fucking,
just dude, that sounds like a New York Times bestseller right there. Like just that
yeah,
little piece. That little piece right there, dude. You're about to be like a world record like author
yeah,
for like running books or something. Dude,
whatever. I just hope it inspires people and
that
gets
sounds insane.
people laugh.
That sounds insane. Well, I'm super blessed to have that announcement on the Texas Double Running Talk Show. So that's
Oh, there
exciting.
you go.
Um, man, that's insane. One
Oh,
thing
and
I did
another
want
thing, I was gonna say another thing that's really funny. So the whole book, I try to be. I'm a funny guy. Like I actually did a
to,
couple slant or just stand up. I wanted to get into stand up for a long time, and I still kind of want to do that. I might do that. I have no filter and like no shame. And one of the things I talk about in there is like, I don't know, like 150 miles in, I'm bored. I'm walking around Lake Okeechobee, which is like the bane of my existence. Still to this day, I fucking hate that lake. You're walking on top of a fully exposed dike and levee, like not really anything going on other than the sun hating you. And this voice in the back of my head was like, oh yeah, my friend who's through hiked the AT said everyone has to hike 1 mile naked. for a true through hike to count. And, to this day, I still don't know if he was fucking with me or not. But I was like, this is the perfect time. There's no one around. Like, I don't have anywhere to go, anywhere to be, just keep going straight. So at first, I just take my pants off and I start going. And I'm not running. I'm walking at this point. It's like I'm very close to the end of the day, like 40 something miles in. And, I could hear the road like a mile or so away, but I couldn't see it. Like, there's no houses, there's nothing, right? You're on a exposed levee, like a gravel road bed. And so I'm pantsless. I got my running shorts, and I've never done this in my life, like, what I ever want to go Vegas. And I'm like, okay, I've got to stay, on my GPS watch. I'm like, I got to do at least 1 mile, just 1 mile naked. And so as it's progressing, I'm like, man, this is kind of starting to chafe a little bit. So I'm kind of like walking, real bow leg, like I just got off a horse for a long time, And I kind of keep going, and I look over to the left, and I realize, for like, I don't know how long, but the last however long, the road is in eyesight, and I'm really pale, dude. So I can only imagine there's people in minivans driving through and be like, honey, cover the kid's eyes. There's some like naked dude walking up there, and my legs were so screwed that when I finished it, to try to put my running shorts back on, I fell over and was like in the gravel and was like sitting there just like, trying to like roll around to get my running shorts just back up, man. Anyway, funny story.
That's insane, man. Hey, I'm excited for this book. You already know, I'm gonna be the first one to read it. Man, that sounds insane. But yeah, dude. One of the things I wanted to touch on from earlier is a little bit on race directing and just how much work goes into it. Like, people don't see the amount of work that goes into race directing. It's insane. I put on like one little 5K not too long ago, and literally that was so much work just for a little 5K. So like, bigger races, like the races I'm gonna be putting on in the future, like I got a 50K in May that I got to put on, and that one's gonna be tough. But like, the thing with that though is that I've noticed a lot of saturation on the West Coast in trail races. Like, there's literally like 5 races, it seems, a weekend on the West Coast. There's so much, and I feel like right now is the best time to get into race directing, kind of in the central part of the United States and the East. Just because all of that's starting to emerge and kind of follow the same trend that the West Coast is following. So
it's interesting because like I've seen when I started race directing, it was like perfect time. Like, there was nobody else doing whatever, I'm sorry, that's not true. There weren't as many people, and it was just blowing up. Now, like here on the East Coast, man, it's like over COVID and stuff. Now there's like people are putting on a race every weekend, and it's kind of weird. Like, I don't mean, as a race director, like, I'm all about people putting on events, and we need more people in the sport. But you got to ask yourself, from a running standpoint as well. Like, so from an elite standpoint, which I don't cater to elite runners at my races. I love them. I love seeing people racing my stuff, etc. And I like racing. It tickles me to death, but it's also not who pays my bills. So I'm not catering fully towards them. Like, that's not who I'm designing my stuff for. It's for people who are normal folks, middle, back of the pack kind of stuff. Yeah. But what I've seen is, like, if you're an elite runner, it's become really hard to make a name for yourself if that's what you're trying to do, because there's just so many races. And so, like, where the quality used to be all concentrated in 4 or 5 races a year on the East Coast, or the Southeast, should we say, now it's spread out and all this stuff. And it's like, well, I won this race. And it's like, it's hard to kind of whatever. And, I've noticed that we are getting more runners into stuff, but there's like a lot more races going on, but a lot more races that have like 15, 20, 30 people. And, that's how I got into ultra running. So that's cool. I mean, it's interesting. But like I said earlier, like, I feel like here on the East Coast, we're like 10, 15 years behind the West Coast. 10 years ago, West Coast was super saturated. They're even more super saturated now.
Yeah.
Especially Pacific Northwest has become that way as well. I can't speak to Texas. I've never run there, to be honest, which is embarrassing. I'd love to. I just, it's never,
Yeah.
there's never been a race that's spoken to me, put it that way.
Yeah, yeah. Like I can't really think of any huge like trail racing over Texas. They obviously put on so many races, but like I can't think of like one huge race in Texas. I guess Bandera, but I don't know. I've That's why I'm trying. So, fun fact about Texas, we have the most diverse state out of any other state because on the east you got like all these. It's basically like all of the East Coast trees and stuff like that on the east, but you go
Yeah.
west and it's a desert. And then so you got literally almost every climate in the United States. And if you want to get mountains, you got Guadalupe Peak. And there's not like one like known race. Like on the East Coast, when you think of an East Coast race, or even just in Georgia, Georgia Death Race is the first thing that comes to mind. And when you think of the West, you think of um, like Hard Rock and like all those
Mhm.
big crazy races, Western states. But Texas doesn't have one, so I'm trying to make a crazy Texas race called the Texas Diablo. It's only a marathon right now, but I want it to be like a Texas Diablo 100 or something crazy like that, and have it be the hardest race, if not in Texas, in the United States. But yeah, there's not really like one known race, and that's something I've noticed about Texas. Like, not a lot of people travel here unless it's for like Bandera. So
I think one thing I've noticed, and I don't want to talk badly or anything. And again, I don't know because I fully haven't sat down. But anytime I like looked at like a race to go run out there, it seems like the goal is to get as many people as possible.
mm,
And I don't know if there's better trails or not, because I actually was looking at putting on a 200-mile, or I'm sorry, 120-mile race at Caprock
yeah,
Canyon State Park.
Caprock's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah, dude, with the bison and everything. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
A while ago, and I'll be honest, man. You guys have some awesome shit there. More specifically, Amarillo, the Big Texan Steak Ranch, dude.
That's right, close to where I live, and I'm putting on Chupacabra 50K there. So everyone's so excited to have a race near that area because there's not any races in the West except for like one or two of Texas. And West Texas has the most amazing, and South Texas too. Southwest Texas has the most amazing just canyons and structures that I've seen. Like obviously you got like the Grand Canyon and stuff like that, but that part of the Texas is pretty amazing. So
When I drove back, I took the southern route last time I drove out to Utah for our U100, and this was like 2-3 years ago. And
yeah,
I drove back and came down through Texas. And again, I'm somebody who's like really open to like, just because you see something or you have a preconceived notion, that's probably, it may or may not be true, right? So I like wanted to drive through Texas, and man, it was fucking awesome. Like all the colors, like the oranges. I mean, it had the high desert feel to it, which you associate with like Arizona and New Mexico. I mean, it's beautiful.
yeah.
And then I got caught like basically in the middle of like I drove through a tornado, or like it was going on. I mean, it was insane. I was like, dude, this is living. Like,
That's wild, man.
yeah, it was badass. But yeah, dude, Texas was awesome, man. I'd love to go back and run there. I'm not a hot weather guy, so it'd have to be
Mm,
like right now.
yeah, yeah. Texas in the summers. So like I went to New Mexico in the summer and it was just dry heat, but in Texas it's literally like humid, nasty, sticky,
Swamp
hot
ass,
heat, like Louisiana almost, but it's Texas. So
swamp ass heat. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah, it sucks. It literally sucks so much. But it's nice for training in. So when you do hit that winter block, you're a lot faster because you're not sucking in like wet particles into your lungs or anything. So yeah, it's a lot. It's kind of good for a lot of people like comparing it to like altitude training, like Texas training in the heat is like altitude training. So that's kind
You're
of
in
how it works.
Atlanta, same thing, dude. I feel that, dude. I
Yeah,
love it. So it's always funny because I find that a lot of people at altitude, they're like, oh, well, we don't really want to go run on the East Coast because, the heat and humidity. And I'm kind
yeah,
of like, well, I don't really like running at altitude either because that's not what you're used to. I mean, so it's same. So if anybody from out west is watching this, I highly encourage you. Maybe not come in August in like Georgia, Florida, or Texas, but hey, like don't be afraid of that. Come out. You can always slow down and still enjoy the race. You know what I mean? That's what I have to do when I go to, run, speed goat 50K or the rut or something like that.
Yeah. What's like the oddest thing you've had happen in a race? Because you've been putting on races for like a while now. So like, what's the like weirdest thing that's happened, or most memorable? I guess I don't know.
Most memorable. I've had a lot of people get married at my finish line.
No
That's
way.
pretty cool. Yeah, like it
Hmm.
kind of tickles me. I like that. It's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Is somebody who is like a hopeless romantic and probably going to be single for forever since I'm never in one spot more than a couple of days at a time.
Yeah.
It's hard to it's really hard to uh, see myself doing that, but like I love it, like believing in true love and seeing that and seeing people who are in love, hopefully. uh I mean, you wish the best, you hope the best, but yeah, that's really cool. I'm trying to think crazy stuff.
That's
um
pretty crazy so far. I've never heard of anyone getting married at a finish line of a
oh
ultra
yeah,
or a
we've
trail.
had
So
maybe 7 people over the 9 years, so I
wow.
mean pretty decent. um let's see, I've had death threats before for putting on races like in the early days from like a local hiking group. um so I basically had a sidearm on me.
Yeah.
uh let's see what else. I've had people take flagging down all the time.
Oh
uh
man.
that's crazy because you usually don't find out about it until like last minute.
Yeah.
um
The guy who
and
does
then
our Viper running, I can't think of his name.
Camille. Yeah,
Yeah, he talks about how like people always go and like jack up his signs, and like he literally put on a race one time and the leaders went the wrong way and it was like terrible. But yeah, I don't know why people do that. That's one thing I stress about too, is jacking up signs. Like just no
dude,
more
it's the
compass.
safety thing. It's just like, I mean, just an asinine thing. And I don't know about Jamil and stuff, but we do so much trail work with almost all the races we put on. And if we don't do trail work, then we donate money to people that do it. So it's like there's no reason people should be taking shit down. And I haven't had it for probably 2 years now, but it sucks. Like that, that sucks. But I think one of the things about being a race director, I wouldn't say odd, but kind of interesting in a really good way, is that it's kind of heavy, as a race director, especially this past year with all this COVID nonsense going on,
Yeah,
was having people who finished put really heavy shit on me. And not like they're necessarily trying to put that burden on me. They're not, but they're just sharing, it makes me really happy. But, people losing loved ones, stopping smoking meth. I mean, like, going through horrible divorces and, people being very emotional at finish lines. And, I enjoy that. And again, it's like, I haven't done anything. All I'm doing is putting on something that I personally want to do and hoping that other people want to also partake.
yeah,
It's just the nature of going long distance, right? Like the more and longer you push yourself, the highs get higher, the lows get lower. And if you're willing to push yourself to that limit and to be really uncomfortable for a very long time, you're going to get a very big reward, mentally, for that. So,
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I guess I would say that. Yeah, nothing too crazy. Like I haven't found like $3,000 in a trash bag or anything like that.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty insane, dude. Like right now, permits, that's something I'm struggling with is even like with COVID policies, permits are like hard. It's a little easier now, but like back like a couple months ago, like 4 months ago, permits were like kind of tough to get, especially if like you're a new race director. But I know like here in Texas, so many races got canceled because state parks here aren't issuing permits for like a certain period of time, and that's a big thing right now. Is just permits are just that's a hard thing to get. Is just all getting all the permits and everything. So
Yeah, 100%. It's like part of the game, dude. Part of being RD and what makes my life difficult.
yeah,
I would say for anybody watching this is like you live out West Coast, you live in Texas, shit's getting canceled. We are not canceling anything over here in the Southeast. Like I put on 7 events in 2.5 months just recently. Like
Wow, man.
mid
That's like a
December,
back to back. Was it like, were there any to where the weekends were back to back?
a bunch of them. Yeah, it was terrible from a race directing standpoint,
Yeah.
but from pulling races off and people having a good time, everything being marked well, and everything going off without hiccups, dude, awesome. Everyone had a good time. I would say, it's kind of weird. I don't want to choose a side on COVID. I don't want to be more controversial than I already am. But my whole thing with COVID. Actually, so how about this? I'll come back to that. The only thing political I'm going to say is I'm just mad that Donald Trump didn't pardon Joe Exotic, so we get a second season of Tiger King. That's
Mm,
my whole.
yeah.
I'm pretty upset about that, to be honest. Like, that's
Yeah.
bullshit.
I heard that he was going to yesterday or something, but I don't think
Was
he
he? Oh,
actually did.
yeah. That would have been hilarious and awful at the same time. But yeah. So, anyways, and one of the things now that I say with race directing before every race and in our pre-race emails, our pre-race, we've changed things significantly where we're not having a mass gathering like we were before. We're spacing people out. We're doing wave starts. We're not having a typical finish line where we have beer and pizza and food and like music and like let's hang out and talk about everything we did, which is one of my favorite things about trail running and ultra running is being able to sit back after you get done having an experience and being
Yeah.
able to not only digest food and alcohol, but being able to digest what you just did and talk to other people who just did the same thing and relate to them. And, somebody next to you could be a doctor, man. This guy could be a plumber. This guy could be unemployed. I mean, every walk of life that's what makes us so great. But, so we've changed things up a bit. And I tell people, like, I'm not here to try to guess what your comfort or discomfort is with COVID or whatever. All I know is these are the rules for us having an event.
Yeah.
This is my job. I have to do this to make a living, period. No loan in the world will allow me to be able to not work and not put on events. And if people have problems with that, that's cool. But they must not be in my situation. So we're going to take the safety measures and we're going to follow CDC guidelines and we're going to follow whatever government entity or private land owner asks us to do. And we're going to safely and responsibly adhere to those guidelines. And so that's what we've done. And it's like, I found that a lot of people, and again, Texas sounds like other states are different. And, I do Virginia, Tennessee, North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, and Utah. And so Tennessee has gotten a little, where they don't want that to happen. So we've kind of pushed our event that would be this March to next year. And then, we've had events in North Carolina and Virginia and Georgia and in Florida with no problems. So it all depends, but at the same token, I'm seeing people who are also race directors, canceling their events and stuff like that. And I guess it all just comes down to what the comfort level is and how bad a race director needs to put on a race. Not many people are full-time race directors as
Yeah.
I am. This is how I eat, it's like, yes, I make money from this. We give back a lot, money, and trail work and other various things. But yeah, at the end of the day, I have to be able to eat. So we're going to keep putting on races. I'm not going to cancel anything that we put on sale. So my whole thing is, if people want to run races, come do a run bum race.
Yeah.
We're still putting things on. Most of them are already sold out. But yeah, come on.
Yeah, I will say Run Bum, just all the races. I went on y'all's website. First of all, I love how simple it is. It's literally you go to the website and has the dates, register here, and what the race is. Like, I love the simplicity of it, but like all your races are individually unique and different. Like, if you click on each register page for each page, they're all completely different, and they're all made at like obviously they're all made at like different times, and you could tell that they're just uniquely each one of them are made. So that's one of the things like I love about all your races. They're all just so unique, you know. And one of the questions I had was when did you finally take it to full time? Like, was it immediately like you hopped into race directing and you were like, all right, I'm going to do this full time, or was it like a part time thing at first? Like, tell me what you did with that.
Yeah, it was all part time, man. It took me 5 years to do that full time,
Mm,
and this is year 9, so that's somewhat recently. And the only like when I first started doing all the races, like I don't know, we just put on Georgia Death Race to kind of be like almost like a middle finger to be like, hey, guy, like I had something to prove to the West Coast people, which is silly, but it's funny. When we do get West Coast people that come out here, they usually get it handed to them because they're like, oh my God, what the fuck are these trails? I mean, it's hard. It's not the point of it is like very hard. It's not the hardest thing in the world. You're not at high altitude. It's typically not really, really warm. It can get warm during the day, warmer, but it's not like 90 degrees or anything like that. Excuse me. Um, but yeah, like so the first year I think I had 4 races. Yeah, like 4 races. Like
yeah,
two of them weren't ultras, and then 2 of them were. And now that's developed into 12 events. And I've run over 300 ultra marathons myself, which, by the way, literally means nothing. Because I'm still a person, you're a person. People run more than me, they run faster, they run. It's like whatever. It's just something that made me happy for a while. I don't count stuff, like I don't try to quantify things. It's not me. Usually don't wear a GPS watch unless I'm trying to do FKT stuff, which is almost never.
yeah,
Yeah, I try to keep it fun, and all the courses I design they're courses that I want to run myself. Like, in fact, this is how I know I've done a good job is like when it's like ready, set, go, the race starts, and I'm like, shit, I wish I was out there running, the way I get to kind of, I mark most all the course myself. Christy started helping me a little bit more, but I mark 3/4 or more of every race, if not all of it. And so I get to go out there and be on those trails and on those courses during the middle of the week when there's nobody on them. So I kind of get to enjoy them at my own pace, and just kind of get to kick back on the stuff, stop if I want to. There's no rush. But yeah, man. So that's kind of how it all started. And
yeah.
yeah, I mean, for the longest time, I was just floating money around like an idiot. So there are very few people who can make race directing a full time like living. So it
Yeah.
took a very long time, and it was very calculated moves to make that happen.
Yeah, yeah, especially starting out, you have all the one-time costs. You got to buy the inflatable arch and the tents and just everything. And on top of that, you also have all the event cost, all the food. There's a lot more that went into it than I thought when I first got into it. And people would come up to me and they would be like, "Oh, you made this much off this race," and I'm like, "No, I barely made anything just from all of the cost that goes into all the races." And a lot of people just look at the big number, but they don't look about where that's dispersed, you know. And a lot of it, race directing, you don't really make a lot of money unless you're like you do like 18 races or something crazy like that, you know. So
Well, and the thing was like for the first 3 or 4 years of the business, I like lost money.
mm,
And like when I was a kid, my dad got me like a savings thing, like stock thing, and I literally blew through all of that. And it was like I was able to like because year one to run the Georgia Death Race was $75. We sold out the race, but I lost so much money on it because I didn't know how, like you're saying this to me, like, yeah, I had no idea. Oh, fuck, insurance, websites,
yeah, event
paying somebody to
liability
do
insurance. Yep.
it. Dude, like I had no idea. Like the fact that Run Bum is sitting here, we have 11, 12 events now is really like a miracle. Like that first year, no one got lost. The course was marked. Everyone had food or water. It may not have been the food that they wanted, but they had it, I was running around. We had dude. We had people that said they were going to volunteer at an aid station, run an aid station. We
They
get
don't
there,
show up.
there's no one there. So my co-race director at the time had to I go, fuck, you and your husband are running this aid station. Everything else you were supposed to do, now I have to go do. Oh man, it was a clusterfuck, but no one knew it behind the scenes. And if you ever get into race directing, don't start doing ultras. That's stupid. Like, it's too much work. You don't make.
Yeah, start with the 5K like I did.
Yeah,
Start
go
with
do
the
a 5K, dude. I wish I would have done a 5K. Cut my teeth on that. I mean, God, dude. I mean, it's just, again, it was just shit luck and determination, I guess, which is a lot of my life is just fucking shit.
It's so much learning from your failures. And like literally the reason I'm laughing so much is my first race, it was just a 5K, but I was doing the same thing. I was running around like a chicken with its head cut off. Like, you're literally everywhere whenever you're first putting on your first couple of races and everything. I'm kind of scared and excited for the races I'm going to be putting on because it's my first ever ultras I'm going to be putting on, but I'm a little scared too at the same time. But it's fun, but it's the most high stress event management, and like being a event director is one of the most high stress jobs that I can think of. Like, honestly, just because there's so much, you're literally the head of everything, you're controlling everything, and you want to make sure everybody's happy and everybody stays on the course. It's so much, it's a lot, but I love it, and it's fun to me. Like, when you talk about that stuff, that just sounds fun. So
when it's always, you plan for like everything, and then there's always shit that you didn't plan for. Not one, like multiple things. Like, wait, what? Like, somebody did that, or like somebody's what? Or like, oh fuck, we forgot to get. Dude, I've done everything wrong. I've forgotten the safety pins. I've forgotten to order bib numbers. I've forgotten to get porta johns, multiple times. Shit, like, it's just shit that just happens, right? And as soon as the race starts, like, the way I look at everyone running is like, you're my children.
Yeah.
Like, I have to take care of you.
Yeah.
Like, if you're lost, fuck the search and rescue. I mean, I'll call them, but I'm coming out there to get your ass, because guess what? I'm going to sprint up the mountain, and I know these woods better than anybody. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it would be funny if we had a almost like a comedic talk show or like show with a bunch of different race directors that everybody knows, and we just start talking about like all types of stuff. Like, I feel like that'd be funny, man. Like, if Rob Goyen was on right now, he'd be talking about how he picked up some girl and had to like carry her up a mountain because she broke her leg or something from a race. Yeah, man, I'm excited for what's to come, but man, race directing is literally insane, man. It's insane.
I had to carry a guy out like 2 years ago with Georgia Death Race. Some fucking volunteer. God bless people volunteering, but this person was like ridiculous. I don't even know how this happened, but it was the last aid station. The cutoff, like 30, 45 minutes past the cutoff, the guy is there with his pacer. He's cut off. Like, he can barely walk. He's blown the cutoff, right? Cutoffs are strict. It's not, oh, okay, it's 12:30, fuck it, it's 1:30, just go, or, it's 12:45. Rules are there to keep everyone safe and, whatever. It's like 3, 4, 5, 6 in the morning. The race is done. This guy, apparently this aid station person had, while all the other volunteers were packing up everything, they had thought it was a good idea to be like, no, this person just needs to be encouraged to get back out there and just keep going. And it's like, holy shit, like, that's one of the most remote spots of the course. And there's no bail, like, we can't go pick somebody up. There's no cell service out there. So all of a sudden this person's going. We have somebody waiting at the next road crossing, which again is like 5.5 miles. It took this person 2 hours. They still had not hit the road. So the race is over. I haven't slept for 38, 40 hours. It's pouring rain. It's 45 fucking degrees. I'm exhausted. Me and my best buddy go, and we're like, fuck it, we're going to go get this guy. They're with the sweepers. The sweepers are incredible people. They're pissed off. They're like, we're way behind what do we even do? The race is, so we go out there. This dude's wrapped in a space blanket, and we pretty much are like, fuck it. It's Georgia Death Race. Like, fuck this guy, like, we're going to drag his ass off, I hope it's not a big dude. And this guy was a smaller dude. And he was, again, he's funny, and he'd probably laugh at this. He's a nice guy, but again, haven't slept for 40 hours. And, you know, the sweeper's like, come on, you got this. This guy can barely move, dude. He's like stopping to sit down. He's like getting hypothermic. Me and my friend put one arm, you know, under each shoulder, like, you know, each armpit. And we pretty much start dragging him. He's like, no, no, no. Oh God. You know, and he's just screaming bloody murder. And I'm just like, I don't want to fucking hear it. It's 6 a.m, dude. I haven't been to sleep for 2 nights, you know? And so we drag him. And then finally, my buddy, we take turns. I literally throw him over like just my shoulder. And we're like, we had to get him like 1.5 miles or so out. It took like an hour just to get him that way. But dude, it would have taken him another 2-3 hours. And we dragged him. And the best part is I had a buddy waiting, one of my really good friends. He is waiting with his van, and we popped the doors open, and we literally, and he's like, oh, thanks guys. And this guy, I mean, he's like almost crying because his legs are just, I mean, and no, even if you had made the cutoff, this guy should not have ever left that aid station, you know? And God bless this volunteer. They were trying to do what they thought was the right thing in their mind. And I get that. I understand that. But dude, we're out there. It's a safety risk. And this guy, we finally get him back to the van, and me and my buddy literally just go, all right, 1, 2, 3. And he goes, oh no. And we literally threw him into the van, and he's like, oh God, you know, everything's seizing up. And he's just like, oh God, you know, and he's screaming, oh fuck, man. And we're like, literally his pacer was like, I'm really sorry. And as the guy's screaming, we just shut the door. You hear, oh God. And, you know, it was like muffled screams on the inside. And he was like, I'm so sorry. I was like, dude, just do me a favor. Get them to fucking help, like whatever, like it's all good, you know, whatever. But it was just a funny time because it's like this guy was literally crippled, like he couldn't even walk, you know, down stairs or gradual hill. We just had to drag him out of there.
Yeah, man, that's that's insane, man. I can't imagine that 2 nights no sleep and that guy was out there, man. That's a funny story, man. You have me cracking up the whole time. Yeah, that's some good stuff. Just real quick, we're gonna go to wrap this up, but I do have one question for you. We ask every guest one of these questions. This is the one I'm gonna ask you: is if you could only pick one song for runs for the rest of your life, what song would you choose?
So I'm gonna tell you something before I answer this, and I feel when I was training for the Florida Trail, one of my friends, Hunt Brumley, the dude has full body and full face tattoos. He tried to do 6 hours of listening to Lady Gaga Poker Face and going for a run, and just to see if he could mentally take it. Now, one of the days, or a couple days actually, that I went and trained for the Florida Trail, I was trying to train myself not only physically but mentally. I actually did like a 10-hour stint of listening to Poker Face on repeat. And to this day, I still have no idea what the fuck that song is about. But I just know I don't ever want to hear it again. Man, that's a really hard question, because it's like, do you go for like the short song, or do you go something that's like really long and drawn out? I don't know. I probably go, as much as I am a fan of like metal and country and EDM or something, I'd probably go with like Led Zeppelin, like Kashmir. I think that's what I would go with.
Yeah, interesting choice. I think I have it. Oh, is this it?
There you go.
I don't know if there's copyright strikes on a podcast, so I'm not gonna play that. But
yeah, I don't know. I just got PTSD from that.
I bet you did, man. That's insane, dude. That's insane. But I haven't heard that song that you mentioned, but it's a good song choice though.
I'm too young for that, man.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to give it a listen later. Yeah, that pretty much wraps everything up. Do you want to add anything else?
I mean, I always like trying to give people unsolicited advice, and my unsolicited advice with running is, I mean, you read a lot of people's like Instagram posts, all this shit, you know, be brave, do all this shit, dude. Like at the end of the day, all that stuff's cool and inspiration, but you can have the most inspiration in the world, and that doesn't matter if you're not willing to make a change in your life. And I think a lot of people are waiting for that moment, that phone call, that knock at the door, that somebody coming to them with, you know, something that changes their life or whatever. It's like, that doesn't really happen. Like maybe on a movie it does, but not in real life. It's like, if you want, not that people, if you're listening to this or whatever, and you think you want more from life or you want something different, it's like, you got to go out there and get that yourself, 100% hands down. And my biggest thing with running is that, for me, that was a way for that, seeing how far I can go and how far I could go, it inspired myself. I became my own hero, and, share your journey, but also don't ever feel like you have to go further. Don't ever feel like you have to go this fast. I don't try to ever, Sean Blanton never compares himself to other people. Like, I only compare myself to Sean Blanton of yesterday, which as of late, it's like I'm progressively getting slower and running, not as far. But, be your own hero, keep it fun, and know that, be in running for the long haul. That's where that's where I am, for me personally, is like, I watch a lot of people that get burnt out on running. The average lifespan of people in the ultra running sport is only 2.25 years. And the reason for that being is people go out and they have these, maybe they're unattainable, maybe they are attainable, but they're crazy goals, which is awesome. You totally should have that. But once they get to that point, they either get hurt along the way, or like, I want to run Western States, I want to do Hard Rock, or I saw a Leadville movie, which is awesome. I'm glad that happens. You should aim for the stars. You should go do those races. They're fucking amazing. But also, once you do that, then what? Keep it fun, and know that, like, anytime you do some long shit, like I got done with the Florida Trail, I didn't think I was going to run for a year. I knew that, like, psychologically that would really put me in a rut. And know that you're going to go through these weird cycles, and that running, not only can it get you out of ruts, but it can also put you into ruts. So, go out there, change things up. Don't always run with your GPS watch. Run with friends. Be happy. Always push yourself, but don't feel like you have to be somebody you're not.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I had Cliff Pittman on the show, which he was a coach last week, and he left with a really good word. But I think you just one-upped him on that one. So
I'm not trying to one-up anybody, but
yeah, guys, I'm gonna leave all of his stuff in the description if you somehow don't already know who the Run Bum is. But it's all going to be there. Make sure you guys go check out his races. They're all really amazing. And I'm just going to ask you guys to do two things. If you're listening on an Apple Podcast, leave a review, preferably a 5-star review. That'd be nice. Just all you have to do is just click leave a good rating, or leave a rating, and just you can leave a 5-star review there. And make sure you check out the Patreon, guys. $3 a month. I've been paying for this out of my pocket for a while now. And if you guys just want to be generous and leave anything, and if you think I'm doing a good job, you guys can hop on the Patreon. But that's pretty much everything. Next Saturday, we're going to be talking about coffee and how coffee helps with running and just all the health benefits and stuff. We're going to have a doctor on and a guy who owns a really big coffee brand in Richardson, Texas. So make sure you guys stay tuned in, and thanks for watching.